Delegation is about developing people. You always want to be developing people who are willing to be developed. Capable and able are two different things. Delegate things that are important, not urgent.
The power of what delegation can do over time. It might not be a time management tool right away.
Give the employee the outcome, not a prescription on how to create that outcome. People will tell you who they are if you'll choose to believe them.
You're listening to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, a podcast that delivers value and offers up insight that'll help your credit union grow. ServiStar has been consulting with credit unions for over 20 years, growing them in the areas of cultural development, leadership development, and management training. To learn more about what ServiStar can do for you or your credit union, check them out at ServiStarConsulting.com.
Welcome to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast. You got Scott Anderley and you got
Albrecht, and we also have
Mike Neill.
a special guest.
yeah, our special guest,
Really
Mike Neill.
special.
Special guest. All right, don't pump yourself up too much right now. But we do have the founder of ServiStar, the chief learning officer, actually our boss here today. And why is because Albrecht and I had a great idea for a game. Game time. And I'm calling it Matching Mike. So what I want to do here, Mike, is typically when we train virtually or on site, we always get people asking us questions. We usually end off with one big question, one big takeaway. And even on our show, we get a lot of people asking questions. So we thought, how great would it be to show how us being consistent or really putting ourselves on the line here of how we're answering this in line with the ServiStar principles and training. So this is how the game's going to go. I've recorded a question from some of our Vertex participants. All right. And it's about 3 minutes long. That way you get all the context behind the question and you see my answer to it. So as you're watching this, I want you to think, I want to limit what you say, all right, up first, because I want to make sure I get on paper if you say this that matched it perfect, something like that. So that way I can print it off, put it on the wall and say, wow, I've done it. Or if you've said the other stuff, then maybe I'll put that on the wall as well to motivate me to be better. But here's the 3 things that you'll say right after the video. Matched it. I'll add. I'll disagree. All right. Mike,
Put the over on I'll disagree. Just if you're betting, put the over on I'll disagree.
all right. The ante's up. I'm breathing heavily. So we're going to watch this video. And for those of you that are listeners, the hope today, we're focusing on delegation. The goal here is we're taking the stuff from the classroom and we're bringing it to real life. And here's a great question about bringing it to real life. So let me screen share real quick and we'll watch this. All right. So here is one of our training sessions where we had a great question on delegation. And I thought, I'll be honest, I think I answered it right. I think I answered it really good and brought it to the material. But I believe there is a more concise way to word this. And I want to see what you'll say. So here we go. You ready to watch this, Mike?
I'm ready.
Raised a great question, and it would be worthwhile to discuss for a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
What happens if you don't have the right person? And what I mean is, okay, you want to delegate, and you're questioning their capabilities, whether they're not. I personally see it as two-sided. You want to delegate to the right people who you think are capable, but what if you're trying to also stretch their capabilities? They've never shown the ability to do it, and I mean, I need to help this person. So I wonder. Well, I mean, question: what do you do if you don't have the right people to delegate to?
Yeah, man, really fascinating stuff. Oscar, clarifying question real quick. When you're saying you don't have the people to delegate to, can you explain more? Are you saying I don't have people on my team? I don't have people that are operationally competent, willing, able? What do you mean by that?
No, and I definitely have the team, but I realize that sometimes I lean a little more towards some that I know are going to get it done right and don't need them that much guidance and sense of direction, opposed to those that may need a little more of that and may take longer to get a task done. And so I thought about that as I was reading the 8 effective delegations and selecting the right person. I thought about that and I was thinking, well, what do you do, or how do we approach those individuals that do lack more of the,
They might not just get it done as
that,
fast, or might not be as
yeah,
accurate in their work.
exactly. And so, and I think that you're doing a disservice to them by not allowing them, just what Joe said right now. I mean, you would never know what they can accomplish, because maybe there is going to be that one task that they're just going to just blow it out of the water. And but I think about my team. I have a team of 11, and I do realize that I do lean a little more towards some, but maybe I have to have the confidence in those others that can get it done as good or not as better as the one that I'm leaning towards. So it was just a question that I threw out there just because of realizing that as I'm reading them, selecting the right person. So it might just be that right person. You're just not giving them that chance.
The first thoughts based on all the stuff we talked about in our training. Where did I put that? Did I already put that? No, I didn't put the participants guide. When you talk about looking at the 8 steps, and the one thing I think it's under step is select the right person. Delegate the task to employees who will take ownership, that you trust will get this done. Or the other point, only delegate to those who are motivated to learn and have shown you that they're willing to do the work well, that they want to do this, that they will learn. Now, your question could go one of two ways. One could be they're just not putting in the work. They don't care as much as the other people. All right. And yes, like we said, delegation is discriminatory. There's some people that are exceeding expectations, really competent, really good. It's okay that you may lean on them. But what I'm also hearing is, am I doing a disservice where I could be developing people that want to be developed, that are willing? And what I would say there, how would I word this? If I'm hearing you correctly and hearing what Joe was saying too, there might be an issue. I don't want to say issue. They may not willingness and ability. Their ability might not naturally be at the same capacity of other people on your team, if I'm hearing you correctly. And everyone's got different phases. All right. Like for me as a trainer, I might not be as good as some other trainers on our team, or I might be good at some specific areas where the others are. And what I would say is, I think about this Vertex group that we have. Some people might say, hey, you know what? You're doing really great. We want to continue to develop you in leadership because you're really good. Some times we say, hey, I see potential in you and I know you could do this really well. And I want to instruct you. I want to give you training before I start delegating some of these tasks to you. So if you're looking at those quadrants, what I'd say is maybe before delegating, there might be some opportunity to not to delegate, to train, to instruct, to role play, to build up their confidence. And what I'll say, the last thing is, delegation can be hard. They might not get it done really well or be perfect. Let me tell you with Ryan, it took about a month to edit one podcast episode that was about 40 minutes. I could do that in like a day or two. And it took a long time and I had to be patient. And at first it's like, hey, I did some podcasts and I would just say, hey, focus on this one episode. And then now I got to the point a year later, all right, we're getting 2 episodes. And now actually Ryan's doing so well, we've got backlogged where we've got some scheduled out through the end of September. I'd like to have them scheduled out to the end of the year. And then we could record impromptu podcasts and post them as needed. But we're not there yet. But I know we'll get there. It just takes time. Look at that little call out to you, Ryan. Were you expecting that, Ryan? No.
I was not.
But yeah, you've really been soaring at it. But getting to this real quick, Mike, we'll have a drum roll. You have one word answer first. Match, agree, disagree.
Agree.
All right, confetti. It's pouring down. Big music. Ryan,
Wait
get
a
all that
minute.
stuff.
Calm down.
Well,
Calm down.
yeah. Print this off. Put it on the wall.
Calm
All right,
down. Calm down.
You delegated.
If I said matched, you should celebrate. Remember, number 2 was agree, and I'll add.
Yep.
You didn't follow your own rules. Slow your roll, Sparky. So I didn't say match. So you had premature self-congratulation.
I was telling myself already in my head, you caught me. But hey, I'll take it. This is a win. As long as it's not disagree.
So do you want me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
Let's elaborate now. I celebrated.
So your answer is correct, that ultimately, delegation is about developing people. And there are times when you've got to get junk done. But I think your story using Ryan was perfect, which is it would have been easier for you to do that yourself. But the problem is you have lots of other it's to do. So you're going to be sacrificing doing other things like, at that point in your trajectory, developing the emotional intelligence course or learning how to do module 3 of coaching for performance. So something would have suffered because you have too many it's to do. So what you do is you invest in Ryan so that Ryan can get practiced. And so the speed of the turnaround of the podcast can improve, because the speed of the turnaround of the podcast is not going to improve unless Ryan gets more opportunities to do it. So you delegated something that was important, but not urgent. But if you got emotional intelligence scheduled to occur in August, the closer it gets to August, it gets more and more important and urgent. So you always want to be developing people who are willing to be developed. It is your obligation as a leader. But you know me, definitions of words are really important.
Mm-hmm.
And so the word Oscar was using is capable. And capable and able are two different words. Even not Mike Neill's definition, Webster, right? So when you say, I'm not sure they're capable, you're saying, no matter what I do to develop them, I'm not sure they'll ever be able to execute on it. Because capability is different than ability. If I'm unable to do something, you can teach me to do it. Now I can do it. Right? But
Yeah.
if I'm incapable of doing it, doesn't matter how much you invest in me, right? I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm not capable. So it's just a difference in scuba diving and skydiving for me, right? I'm not willing to skydive because jumping out of a perfectly good airplane seems useless, right? If it's on fire, I might jump, but I want to die from a fall or burn to death. But I'm not capable of getting my certification in scuba diving because my inner ears being jacked up the way they are won't allow me to ever go to the checkout depth to get my certification. Can I take the class 100 times? Shoot, could I take the class 100 times and then teach it? Yeah, but I could never go on the certification. Like, are you certified? No, but I'm good at teaching the class. I'm like, yes, you are, because that's all I can do. I'm not capable. So words have really important meaning here when we use them. So when you're saying, I want to delegate to somebody who's both willing and capable, that means I'm going to have to invest in your ability. And that your story about Ryan was so spot on, because Ryan didn't have the ability to be able to edit that podcast with the speed and the expertise that you could have. But you said, do it like this, do it like that, and then practice it. And then what happened is Ryan developed the ability to do it, but Ryan always had the capability of doing it.
Uh-huh.
So you want to make sure, for example, I'm not going to delegate something to you, Anderly, that is a significant weakness of yours, because it doesn't make sense to try to pull something out of you that you clearly shown a pattern that you don't have, right? So why would you delegate to Mike Neill detailed work? You wouldn't, because I've shown over and over and over again that I'm not a detailed person. In fact, you always know an email from me is a virus being sent out under my email if there's no typos. If there's a typo, it's like, this is legit Mike Neill. If there's not, you need to check, because somebody's probably trying to jack up your system, your email system, because everything I do has mistakes in it. So you would say that, like, let's see. I've delegated this detailed project to Anderley, and I've delegated it to Albrecht. It's Mike Neill's turn because you're stupid if you go, Mike Neill's turn. You'd be like, no, I'd rather shoot myself in the kneecap with a nail gun than do that. That's how much more pain could I inflict on myself than giving Mike Neill to do that? And I won't go, thank you, Annalie, for giving that to me and believing in me so much. I'll be like, why am I getting this? You know I'm useless in this. So the idea is capable and able are two different things. But so your example, love it.
Awesome.
I just think there needs to be some more explanation around what is my job as a leader.
Mhm.
Because there's two sides of it. You still got to make sure the job gets done.
Mhm.
Right? And so delegate things that are important, not urgent, and then you got the time to let that person begin to flourish.
Mhm. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And I'll just add to it now is Ryan is just to show the capability. Ryan's exceeding expectations with how fast podcast episodes are coming, but also the shorts. And Ryan, you found a whole new software that I'm not even using called Descript, which makes it way easier. Like I asked you to do something for me yesterday, and you're like, "Oh, that only takes like 5 minutes." I was like, "Oh, that would have taken me like 30 minutes to an hour." So it just speaks to the power of what delegation can do over time. It might not be a time management tool right away. What I want to do,
I want to add something to that. So what happens? You delegate to somebody, and what's one of our principles? Don't tell them exactly how to do it in every way. In other words, don't say this is the way you should do it. What you did is say this is how you need to do it, but then you allowed this person, Ryan, to go look and find some other ways and say, I think I may have a better way to do it. So that the story you just gave, by the way, this ought to be like a branded story that you use going forward on delegation, because what you did is you matched another one of our principles, which is tell the employee give the employee the outcome, not a prescription on how to create that outcome, so that they can come back and go, hey, I think I may have another way to do that. And now Ryan did something you didn't do.
Yeah. So I want to flip the tables, or how the tables turn, how the turns have tabled.
Turn the tables, turn.
Yeah, you're following. You're picking up what I'm laying down.
I am not. But
well,
I'm glad you two are thinking.
And we're syncing. I'll just tell you exactly what I'm asking for. And Albrecht, you may have one too, and I'd ask for you to share as well. But Mike, could you give me a story that you either have personally or from a credit union you worked with regarding delegation? And let me get a little more specific. And if you don't, that's fine. You might have something else. But the question I have is, with that situation, that story, it sounded like he was using a lot of the same people to delegate tasks to, rock stars. And something that could happen is you might burn those teammates out by overworking them and not developing other people that want to develop, that are able or capable and willing to be able, if you develop them. Has there been a situation that you've seen where people are just relying too heavily on one person because they do it the fastest or they do it the best, where you have other people that could get to that level, but just they're not working on developing them?
Well, by definition, then that's not delegation. Because you're giving people the task over and over again that they can do well. Well, you've already developed them. That's no longer delegation. That's just their task now. And then what we do is, if they're willing and capable, then we just keep giving them more and more stuff to do. Well, then are we really doing it because we want to develop them, or because we know they'll execute on it? So this really not even delegation anymore.
Yeah. That's a great way to put that.
Now, I mean, think about that, really. So have I ever seen it? It is the normative way that people delegate. But it's not even delegation anymore. It is your reward for being willing and capable, Scott, is I give you more and more and more to do because I can get it off my plate, on your plate. You'll do it on time and well. And so it's not a delegation anymore. It is offloading my work onto you because I know it'll get done so I can get on to other things. Now, we would call that maybe delegation, but it's really not delegation by the definition of is employee development. I'm just giving you another task to do. Now we don't have
Would you
another
say
really
that
good word
that's
for it.
the fruit of delegation, though? Like the
I'm
outcome?
not sure.
If you continue delegating to develop somebody to the point where they can do it really well and you don't have to worry about it, would
Yeah,
that be an outcome of delegation that we could use to our advantage?
yeah, sure. But the nature of the question was different. The nature of the
Yes,
question
correct.
is
Yeah.
we keep giving things to the same people because we know they're willing to do it and they'll get it done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, then what's your motivation for doing it? Develop that employee? No, get it done without being able to do it. So by definition, it's no longer delegation because it's not
So I'm hearing
employee development.
and important for everyone that's taken Vertex as well. Delegation is a development tool, not a get it done tool.
Because I do have a story.
Yeah. All right,
Because
cool.
go. Because I
Mike's
have a
always
story.
got. Yeah, go for it.
So this one has to do with capability. And this is something when you try to delegate to someone who's incapable of doing it, the cataclysmic events that it causes. So this is a Mike Neill is stupid story, which is really most everybody's favorite stories, because as we know, I am self-aggrandizing and self-congratulating so much that everybody loves it when I pick at myself. So I had a member service representative who was very experienced and members loved. And her name was Debbie, and I needed a branch manager. And so, because I had a branch manager leave, and I knew that she would be steady. She would never make decisions without asking me, which keeps me out of hot water by explaining my boss why Debbie did something. And I knew that members already knew her, and operationally, she was perfect. Did Mike Neill think, well, can this person lead? Kinda. And I was kind of worried about it, but I needed somebody like now, and I didn't want to go looking for somebody. So I said, Debbie, would you like to be a manager? And she said, no. And I said, Debbie, have you really thought about it? Yeah, I don't want to do it. Like, but why, Debbie? I don't want to fool with people. I like my members and I like my job. I like helping people. I don't want to tell people what to do. But Debbie, I think you have that potential. You need to think about it. All right. Like, what are you going to do when your boss won't shut up, trying to change your mind? So I came back to her 2 weeks later. She's a very straightforward person. And I said, Debbie, have you thought about it? Yes. You think you might like to bid on that job? No. Debbie, I really want you now to think. See, I needed her for a lot of different reasons. And so now the third time I asked her, what does she say? Okay. Because she's not stupid. Right? So then she was terrible. Terrible. I remember one employee situation where she was going to have to confront the employee, but she was never going to do it. And she said, I'm not doing that. You're going to have to do it. And I said, well, you need to be in the room. And so Debbie sat in the farthest corner of the room, rocking like she was having some kind of a, episode. While I said, Roxy, what are you going to do to not log in your loans late to make your turnaround time look good? So Roxy was actually falsifying credit union documents. And so she looked at Debbie. She goes, you're going to let him do this to me? You're seriously going to let him do this to me, Debbie? You would never do this, Debbie. And she's just like, and so, Roxy leaves. I mean, Debbie's got to go take, 2 hours to recuperate. And then next day she comes in and says, Hey, I just want to let you know I'm leaving the credit union. I was, oh, what? I've taken a job as a member service rep at another credit union. So she was going back, and it was this teeny tiny credit union that was going to underpay her what she had already been making as a member service rep.
Wow.
And I said, is there anything I can do to change your mind? No, this is not a good fit for me. And what I realized is this: I forced Debbie into a life altering decision that negatively impacted her life financially because I was so selfish. I would not listen to her. And that's what, so not only did my life lesson teach me something, it had an impact on somebody else that was negative. And so I just realized that, people will tell you who they are if you'll choose to believe them. Somebody who shows you no capability to do something is likely not capable to do it. Somebody that shows you repeatedly, I don't want to do anything beyond my job, is somebody you don't delegate to because they're not a 12-cylinder Jaguar firing on 8 cylinders and you just got to give them that little tune up. They don't want to do it. They just want to do their job and go home. So watch people, listen to people, and they'll tell you and show you who they are. Delegation is not an obligation onto an employee, nor is it development is not a human right that everybody must receive from you. It is earned on the part of the employee, and through wisdom, you assess who will execute on it well. And there's got to be those two pieces of it. If not, you will negatively impact that employee and you'll negatively impact yourself and your outcome. Because now I'm at a branch manager and a member service rep.
Yeah. Oof. Man, Mike, thank you for sharing that story. I know that is going to inspire and equip our listeners to help better delegate.
Or at least make people go, well, at least I'm not as dumb as Mike Neill. And so if so, my work here is done.
Or validate. Yeah. Well, guys, this is the Credit Union Leadership Podcast. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors and we'll get back. See you guys.
Vertex Live nationwide is one of the most popular leadership training that's come out of ServiStar Consulting in the last 4 years. The pandemic forced everyone to go live online, and we embrace the opportunity to take credit unions from around the nation and join their leaders into one 10-part series with a graduation at the end and a group project that takes these classroom leadership topics and turns them into real world competencies. You've heard me on the Credit Union Leadership Podcast talk about an investment in leadership as one that pays dividends in your others. And so many credit union leaders will benefit. Not only themselves, but their teams will benefit from being better strategic thinkers. Their teams will benefit from being better coaches. Their teams are going to benefit from being more effective delegators. And so topics like team building, employee motivation, don't let your team learn this by mistake. Give them that proactive leadership training that they need. Send them to Vertex Live nationwide, a cohort that runs twice per year here at ServiStar Consulting.
Yeah. And we're back.
We had OG Mike Neill. I mean, if you listen to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, you know, all the way back in 2017, it started with Mike and a good friend of yours, actually, Chad Harrington, was the producer of the Credit Union Leadership Podcast back when it first started.
Yeah, you know, and it's fun. I know you've been on a ton of episodes with Mike, or you brought him on to talk about things. This was my first time doing it. So thanks for letting me ask more questions and soak it in. It was a pretty cool moment, and it helps validate some things, but also helps you think, oh, there's a better way to say this that's going to land with people, you know. And let's just sit in the moment and just debrief some of the stuff he talked about and what this means for listeners that have attended our leadership course or considering it. Albrecht, let me flip it on you real quick, because you didn't get as much time to verbally process as I did. What was something that, you know, you've taught this class a ton of times, but hearing Mike give his stories, hearing Mike answer the question, how does this validate, or how does this change your perspective on delegation?
Yeah, it's kind of like the 20-80 rule. I don't know if this is scientific, but 20% do 80% of the work. That's definitely the rule at my church.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's 10-90 at church. I don't know. But like you get, this is how people get promoted into management. It's the people that keep on being weird and asking for more assignments, asking questions about underwriting. And that's, we got one with the pulse here. And so is it okay to have people who are not as committed as others? I think Mike just said, yeah. I mean, every saddle needs a seat at the credit union, and not every saddle and not every seat is going to be the next CEO of the next credit union that comes down the road. And so finding those people who have the quote unquote pulse is how you find delegation. And there's no Rubik's cube, if this, then that, to figure it out. He said, no, you use discernment and wisdom to kind of know who's got the itch to grow, and then you give them that opportunity as a delegation assignment. So I love that confirmation that it's okay if someone's working 9 to 5 and meeting minimum expectations and isn't drinking the Kool-Aid of the credit union movement. Might bother people who do drink the Kool-Aid, but listen, this is not a cult. It's a credit union. So put the Kool-Aid away and reserve that for that good drink for those who are thirsty.
We'll see you and then CULT. But yeah, I think that's a great point you make, Albrecht, because as a leader, sometimes I may feel this unnecessary obligation that everyone on my team should be exceeding expectations in all areas and wanting to develop and grow. And it's great when we have those people, but there's some people that they want to do their job and they want to do it well, and they want to go home. I call them the Noels because I had a great team member named Noel. And I remember asking her, hey, do you want to train people? And she said, no. And that was a big moment for me, realizing, oh, there's people that are doing a great job that I shouldn't force into this role. Spoiler effect, Mike was already my mentor while I was leading at that Chick-fil-A. So I was able to use that information.
What? Man, and I was listening to the podcast so technically Mike was my virtual mentor, but we'd never met yet.
Your VM.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to take this from debrief. All right. So Mike answered some questions. He's dropping knowledge on us. And I want to bring it back to the principles we teach in effective delegation in Vertex. And I've got a great one for you, Albrecht. So I want to transition to the Albrecht acronym. Albrecht acronym. All right, Albrecht, I've got a challenge for you.
Yes.
So in our delegation course, we talk about the mindset, we talk about who to delegate to, but then we give participants an 8-step process. All right. So the 8-step process,
8 steps,
let me go through it real quick. Is step 1, delegate the whole task. Boom. Step 2, select the right person. Step 3, specify preferred results. Step 4, delegate responsibility and authority. Step 5, it's a lot. All right. Step 5, ask person to summarize back to you. One of the most important ones. Ask person to summarize back to you. Step 6, get ongoing non-intrusive feedback. Step 7, maintain open lines of communication. Step 8, evaluate and reward. All right. We go into big detail. I know I went through it really quick, but Albrecht, you train this. My challenge is I want you to come up with an acronym that has these 8 steps of delegation using the word delegate. DELEGATE. Yeah, delegate.
Goodness. Well, let's get it started with D. That's where I would start if I was going to do an acronym that started spelled
listeners, what I will say, Albrecht, I just put him on the spot. He has not had days to think about this, but one of Albrecht's gifts is analogies and thinking of how to say things a different way. So we're putting him to the test. So we're starting with D.
Yeah. D is going to be for develop. Who are we going to develop? Enthusiastic leaders. That's DEL, by the way. We're almost there, right? So that's going to empower. That's E. The empower through garnering. G.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Added talents.
All right.
Which drives engagement.
Delegate. Oh, talents. Engage. You did it, right?
I think I did it. I think I did it. I think I got
that was way faster than I thought. I'm pretty surprised. You know what? Music plays, confetti drops. We did it. Wow, that was way faster than I was expecting. Man. All right. So now what I want to do is let's transition.
Office hours.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
We've got some of these principles. And we've got what Mike said. Let's just do rapid fire round on some of these questions. So let's not take too long. I've got a ton of questions, but we'll end whenever I feel is appropriate. So, Ryan, do you have those questions pulled up? Can you ask those?
Yeah, I got our first one is what's the biggest hurdle new managers overcome to delegate simple tasks?
Oh. Albrecht, you've been training this a while. Well, I've been training this with quite a few leaders too. This might not be a question we get, but it's something we definitely experience a lot with our leaders. What are some of the things new managers should expect, whether it's mindset, employees, tasks, and then let's frame that as the hurdle that these managers are facing?
Well, if we're going to listen to our illustrious leader, Mike Neill, he said, delegate those things that are important, not urgent. When I hear simple, I don't hear important. When I hear simple, I think about dumping work on somebody. When I hear simple, I think about giving somebody the yucky stuff that you don't want to do, which isn't important stuff. It's simple stuff. Developing leaders and developing future leaders doesn't start with the simple. It starts with the important. That's my answer.
Wow. Really flipping. It's like a philosopher question. Simple or important? Yeah. And I think the only thing I'll add to that is what Mike said it very well. Delegation, development. Delegation's not do it. Just do it. Now, delegation, if you do it right, it gets to the point where those people can start to just do it for you, but that's not delegation. And that was really, really insightful for me as well, as understanding delegation's not just do it. That's a totally different thing. You're just assigning work. Ryan, let's go to the next question.
All right, the second question. How would you know if a task shouldn't be delegated? Should it not be delegated?
Oh, Albrecht, I think you were hinting at this. In my head, I'm thinking two things. We'll see if we're in line. The first thing you said from just us talking was important versus simple. If it shouldn't be delegated, one thing I'm hearing you say is that it needs to have it's work with meaning for that employee. Is that something you were thinking about?
Yeah, and I'd also talk about the employee. Going back to my acronym, they have to be enthusiastic leaders or future leaders. And this is going to be empowering them to drive engagement. And so if it's something that's not going to empower an employee and drive engagement and develop them, that's the D in delegate, then it's probably not going to garner talents and add talents as we look at the acronym that we just created.
Oh, great job bringing that in there. Yeah. The other thing I was going to add to that, how should I know if a task shouldn't be delegated? We talked about important. Now, let me flip it a little bit. And we talk about this a little bit in our course, is there are some things, well, it reminds me of a question on an earlier episode that we had where someone said, what do I do when team members start saying you're not doing any work or you're not doing important work? Which that's a false statement, because as leaders, our work is different. We're working on the business, not for the business. And with that mindset, delegation is working on the business, not for the business. So some things I'd say that we shouldn't delegate are the specific tools that really only I can do as a leader, which is, hey, these coaching meetings, developing people and catching them doing it right towards our mission. Well, honestly, I want everyone to catch them doing it right, but doing that in the coaching sessions. It's delegating tools and specifying the results and how this ties into our mission and why it's important. Things like that. I would even say like crisis management most of the time would be us as well. So there are some things that should not be delegated, that should just be you. But as a leader, it's a lot of that vision casting and, well, I was about to say building systems, but I think you could delegate that to some people that are enthusiastic leaders looking to develop a talent. Albrecht, when I talk about things you shouldn't delegate, agree, disagree, add on?
Yeah, for those control enthusiasts out there, it's a short list. Basically, the things you can't delegate are the things that are too simple and too urgent to delegate. They're not adding talents, they're not developing the individual. But a lot of the stuff that you think are important that are on your plate is delegatable, except maybe the stuff that we teach in Vertex.
Yeah. Ooh, this next question is one that I've gotten on the spot. And I know your first answer is going to be it depends. And we're not talking about diapers. Producer Ryan, read that next question.
All right. When you delegate many things, how do you keep track of all the progress?
That depends.
There we go. There we go. All right. Unpack that a little bit and how you imagine that it depends situation.
Well, you got to check in. I remember I delegated something to an employee and I just let them run with it. And I didn't really specify the urgency or the importance. And they kind of dropped the ball because I never really had these check-ins where I was monitoring in progress, asking them what was going to get in the way of the progress, asking questions like, hey, what happened last week? Well, what did you accomplish last week? Are you still on pace to hit the goal? What's your plans for next week? Who do you need me to introduce you to? What resources do you need from me? And so that kind of a weekly pulse check-in, asking what they did the previous week, what's their plans for the future week, and who do they need access to, what resources do they need, is a way to kind of make sure that you're grabbing the rope as the bucket goes down the well, to use an analogy, just to check in with the person in the bucket. This analogy is getting kind of weird now. And saying, hey, you good? Are we still going to hit goal on time? And so that's kind of what the recipe for success is when you have delegations. Now, the question was multiple delegations. Well, it's going to mean multiple check-ins, which means you're going to have to block out and box out your time to make sure that you can make sure the important gets done. Those check-ins are important. Don't let the urgent consume the important. So make time, put calendar blocks on your calendar to check in with those people who are running with multiple delegations. And I'll add this third and final point. You might have too many things that you're calling delegations. If it really is the important work that's being delegated, I would render a guess that maybe there's not as many delegations. Maybe you have more data dumping or work dumping that you're calling a delegation, going back to what Mike was talking about.
Ooh, really? And you know what? You actually, I want to say flipped it on set, but you brought in a different perspective. When I hear track, I'm thinking metrics and like, oh, how do I know what metrics they're reaching to know what a job well done looks like? And that's important. And I would say is really that it depends of literally what metric are you using. But what you said is really the metric on ourselves as leaders is, am I meeting up with them consistently to follow up on delegation? This could be part of coaching. Hey, I want to get together weekly. I want to get together monthly. Whatever it is for each employee, it might be a little different. Like the story you shared, maybe you should have done it more often. And what I would just add to that is when you get together to check in, are they still in the bucket? Is keep it simple. Keep it to these three things. UPC. All right. I want updates of what you've done since last time we met. Updates. P, I want to hear about
Plans.
Yeah, plans moving forward. What are you going to do this week or this coming month, between this meeting and the next meeting? And C, challenges. What are challenges you foresee where I might be able to provide resources, provide people, provide knowledge and wisdom? Really, really good stuff. Albrecht, I think
you know what? We just did an acronym again, and I didn't even know what P was. I just gave you that. It could be, I don't know. Maybe it's plans.
Yeah, look at it. It's the A&A acronym.
I know,
double
right?
team forcing. Yeah.
Buddy.
It shows that I've been around you a lot. So with this, Albrecht, let's transition to the end. We've given our listeners a lot of things. We brought a question that took delegation from abstract theory to the real world of, it really is a development tool, not just a do it tool. I would say that's the biggest takeaway. Delegation's development, not just do it. And then from that, we gave the acronym for delegation and how it aligns with our 8 steps in the delegation tool. We talked about challenges we face and what we should do when we're delegating. And this will also help us know, is it really delegation or is it really they know how to do the work? We're just assigning work to them. Albrecht, as we end, is there something on your heart? Is there something that you want to communicate to a current and aspiring leader?
So we teach catching people doing things right, and many credit union managers say, "Oh, I don't have time to catch people doing things right." Delegation sets you up to catch people doing things right because you're giving people who are capable, who are willing and able and hungry more things that they're willing, capable, able, and hungry to do. Boom! You're setting them up for that catching people doing things right. So I just want to, across the globe right now, catch Ryan Neill doing it right. We gave you a delegation and boom, you smoked it. Actually, if you're listening to this podcast right now, it's because of a delegation to Ryan Neill. So good job.
And if this section of the show is repeated over and over and over again, you definitely know Ryan's been editing the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, way to live out our mission, which is influencing transformational change in credit unions.
Yeah. All right. With that, we're finished with our podcast where we inspire current and aspiring leaders with real world tools. Till next time, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Interested in submitting a question to the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, we want to hear from you. Go in our show notes. We have a link over there, and in that link, it's going to take you to two options. You can submit a question written out through email, or you can submit an audio recording through SpeakPipe. We make it super easy. Go to the link in the show notes, click audio recording. Once you click audio recording, it's going to take you straight to a website where you just press the record button. You've got 90 seconds to submit a question or submit you catching doing somebody do it right. And then you just type in your name and email address, and that's it. It comes straight to us, and we'll take it from there. So you don't need to download anything. You don't need to get any new software. You just go to this website, press record, and click submit, and we're good to go. So go to the link in the show notes, click if you want to submit a question written out or through audio, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. ServiStar's target leadership. Credit unions executives, we cannot afford to have breakdowns in key leadership areas. If you have breakdowns in communication, what's that going to create? Unnecessary conflict, drama, and just dropping the ball. If we have breakdowns in relationship, what does this create? Mistrust, toxic environments. If there's breakdowns in alignment, we're wasting effort. We're losing time. There's division. Breakdowns in execution. Oh my gosh, we're talking about unmet goals, missed deadlines, blown budgets, and damaged credibility. These are the things you don't want. What you need to do is gain insights into your strengths and weaknesses by diagnosing each of these leadership areas and pinpointing opportunities for improvement. And guess what? ServiStar Consulting and Giant Worldwide are joining forces to nurture credit union leaders who can inspire. We've got a certified coach, Peter Tyson, who is going to test these out and work on these skills to help you develop your talent, your alignment, your reflection, your growth, your engagement, and tailored coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions where you get to reflect what you've learned on during these courses. This is a great thing. If you've taken Emerging Leaders and Vertex, this is the next step in your leadership journey. This is meant for managers, directives, and executive leaders. It's also meant for people that want to become executive leaders. So don't wait. Sign up today. The link is in the show notes.